I used to be very unhealthy. I used to eat a lot of sugar, a lot of carbs, but this has drastically changed in the past few months. Now, in this video, I'm going to be explaining how to get a very healthy diet and why you want to do so. So, I have a few months ago, actually not very long ago, I used to eat lots of like sugar. Now, Um, this is extremely bad. I hope you know that. Sugar is really bad for you, but we need I've really overcome that and I've really gotten a very healthy diet and I've seen some effects. Like there are a lot of positive effects. I feel more energized. I just feel healthier in general, obviously. And there's just a lot of things that you really get from that. Now, when you are watching this video, take some notes, like actually take some notes and follow along if you don't if you actually want this to help you, if you're actually interested and you want this to help you, actually follow along with the video and take some notes and listen to what I'm saying and try and implement them. So, the first thing I want to talk about is sweeteners. But within that, I want to talk about added sugar first. Added sugar is different from natural sugar, which I'll get into more later, but it's natural sugar isn't as bad, right? I'll get into that later. So, there are a bunch of things that are considered added sugar. There are a lot. So there's white sugar, brown sugar, coconut sugar, maple syrup, honey, um, all the things that end in like OSE, like OS, is like glucose, lactose, galactose, maltose, fructose, sucrose, all of those things. That's all added sugar. If it's added, obviously, if it's not naturally in there, then it's added sugar, right? And like corn syrup, especially corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup. Those are high fructose corn syrup is really bad. It so high fructose corn syrup, which is an added sugar, is cheap. It's very cheap. It's cheap even compared to sugar. It's all cheap to sweeten foods with added sugar. It's all cheap. It's easy and it's addictive. That's why it's so common. It's addictive, so it's profitable and it's cheap. So it's, you know, right? Sugar, that's why sugar is in everything. Sugar is in everything. Literally go to the store, like whenever you next go to the store, look through the snack aisle. Literally go through the snack aisle. You'll see there's probably 50,000 grams of sugar in that whole aisle. 50,000 grams of added sugar in that whole snack aisle, at least. It's in almost everything in that snack aisle, if not everything. Added sugar is extremely common. This is why it's pretty hard to try and get rid of it in your diet and not consume it because it's in everything. So, why do you not want to consume added sugars? Why is this such a bad thing? Here, I'll tell you. It increases the chance of heart disease. It gives you mental issues, increases your body fat, dental issues, acne. If that's not enough for you, then I hope you click off this video because if you don't want heart disease and to gain fat and have acne and things like that, um, you're definitely not trying to improve your life. Add it. Okay, now I'm gonna get into some this video is gonna be pretty sciencey, so don't. If you want this video to actually help you, don't click off. But it's gonna seem kind of complicated, but I'll explain it all. This is where it gets kind of sciencey. So added sugars, they enter the bloodstream like very fast. But here now I'm gonna talk about natural sugars compared to added sugars. Added sugars enter the bloodstream fast, and natural sugars enter the bloodstream slow. So natural sugars come along with like protein, fat, fibers, which especially slow it down. And then, so which means it has a less of an impact on blood, like your blood, like glucose level, so how high your blood sugar is. Um, make sure, well, natural sugars, it makes you full. Like, when you eat, like, fruit, which has natural sugars, it makes you full because it has like the fiber and the fat and the protein stuff in it. It has the fiber, so it doesn't like enter the bloodstream fast. It takes longer to digest. Um but still don't consume too much of it. You want to be eating lots of fruit obviously, but you don't want to consume too much. Like it's still possible to, but it's not as much of, not nearly as much as a problem. Like natural sugar is like actually really good. Added sugar is really bad for you because you don't get full. You don't. It enters your bloodstream fast. It has an effect on your blood sugar, which is really bad. Which uh, type 2 diabetes, obesity, things like that are all consequences of that. Added sugar is also in things you wouldn't even expect. Like there's added sugar in ketchup. There's added sugar, yeah, all condiments, like mustard, ketchup. It's in like every energy drink you'll find. It's in everything. I'm literally, it's in things you wouldn't even think there's could even possibly be a thought of having sugar in that, and there's sugar in it. Now, fruit fruit is really good, obviously, right? But when you consume drinks that are for like fruit drink, even drinks with fruit in them, that's makes you full much less easy. It still has a little bit of like the fiber in it. It has like pulp or whatever. Like orange juice has pulp, but sometimes it doesn't, and it just has like the like it'll say like lemon, like a lemon juice from concentrate, or like cherry juice from concentrate, and that's much easy to drink too much of, which is too much sugar, right? Um, so you want to consume that in moderation. Try to cut down on even like the fruit drinks, like the drinks that have like that real fruit, like the natural fruit in it. Natural flavors usually means like it has chemicals anyway, so don't fall for the natural flavors on the ingredients. Um, literally just get like, if you're gonna get any fruit drinks at all, literally just get like fruit juice, like orange juice and like apple juice. But even that, like, you don't want to have too much of, because the natural sugar, it's like harder to become full from it, so you can like actually drink a lot of it. So, but I mean, not the sugars are still good for you, like the natural. Oh, sorry, my throat. All right. Oh man, that's annoying. Jesus. You still want to consume, you want to still eat fruit, but just be careful with the intake of the natural sugars, of the sugars. Now, drinks are made with either natural sugar, which are the best ones. Even you still want to cut down on that, obviously, right? Natural sugars, added sugars, which we talked about, and then artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners is like an artificial sweetener is basically a chemical that like is man-made. So humans literally made the chemical in a lab and made it to taste sweet. Um, so the worst ones are added and artificial. Artificial sweetener is like a substitute for sugar, but most of them are actually really bad anyway. So there are five that you really want to avoid, which are aspartame, sucralose, like any sugar alcohol like xylitol, erythritol, Ace K, and saccharine. All of those you want to literally not consume at all. You don't want to have any of those, because those, like, they can. I'll talk about the side effects later of consuming that, but you want to avoid those at all costs. Then stevia and monk fruit. There A lot of like articles and websites say stevia and monk fruit are like artificial sweeteners, even though they come from like a real thing. So stevia comes from like the stevia plant from like the leaf, and monk fruit comes from like the monk fruit plant from the fruit. You extract there's like an extract from the fruit that you like put in stuff, that you drop in stuff that makes it sweet. So stevia, I don't know why, but apparently those are called like artificial, even though they come from natural sources. But don't like maybe you do some research for yourself, because I'm not like an expert. Do some research for yourself. I'm not sure about like the artificialness of that, but I'm just gonna say they're artificial sweeteners for now, since a lot of like sources say that. Stevia is decent. No, you want to barely to any stevia. I mean, it's like not super good. Like it's actually not that good. But it's better than like all the other artificial sweeteners and added sugars and things like that. So you want to and maybe have a tiny bit of stevia here and there. And then monk fruit is actually pretty good, but like in moderation, right? You don't want to have a ton of sweetener. So you want to the first five that I talked about can like develop like there are a lot of issues to that. So like increased risk of cancer and all like a ton of things. But um the stevia and monk fruit aren't as bad. Stevia is pretty not that great, but monk fruit is actually pretty good. It's the best one out of like every sweetener there is. So if you're gonna sweeten anything, which you probably shouldn't, like if you're gonna have anything sweetened, use monk fruit, like nothing else. Maybe sometimes stevia, but like don't bother buying it. It's a waste of money. Just get like maybe like a little bottle of monk fruit extract. Even like you probably don't even need to, but if you really think you want to sweeten something that much, then use like a couple drops of like monk fruit extract. It's worth the extra $2 for your health. Not eat like a cup of sugar, right? Stevia, consume in moderation. So the first five artificial sweeteners I talked about don't have it all. Stevia consume in heavy moderation. Like it's decent, it's all right, but still don't really go out of your way to like buy it. Monk fruit is pretty good. Still consume it in moderation. The like again, do research for yourself. Like I don't have all the answers. In general, for this topic of like sweetened things, avoid just avoid like all the sweeteners. Avoid all the sweeteners. Just don't have anything sweetened. Just get like the unsweetened things, or just get like one ingredient things, which I'll talk about later. But you just because they're 90% of the time they're going to be 99% of the time they're going to be unhealthy. Like sweetened things are going to be unhealthy. There's a very rare chance that something sweetened is healthy. So just don't get sweetened things unless it's like fruit, right? Obviously. Don't get sweetened things, if at all, maybe a little bit of monk fruit, but that's it, right? Because they can really mess up your system. Artificial sweetener is bad, added sugar is bad, fruit natural sugar is good, um, but if you're having drinks of them, just a little bit, and then uh artificial, most artificial bad, monk fruit maybe a little bit good. So we just talked about like sweeteners, and sugar was one of the sweeteners. Sugar is actually a type of carbohydrate. Now, a carbohydrate is always broken down into sugars. So a sugar is a type of carbohydrate, which you usually hear called carbs. Um, Sugar is a type of carbohydrate. It's a bad type of carbohydrate, but there are a bunch of types of carbohydrate. This is where it gets like very complicated, like this like science stuff. I'll explain it, but um, there's like two categories of carbohydrates. There's simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. There's simple ones. There are two different groups in the simple area. They're monosaccharides and disaccharides. There's like these complicated names, but basically all you have to know is Monosaccharides are like one little molecule of sugar, type of sugars. One little molecule, so things like fructose, glucose, like galactose, they're one molecule of like sugar, like carbohydrate. Disaccharides are two monosaccharides, which are one. Disaccharides are two of those like linked together. So that's things like lactose, maltose, sucrose. It's like sucrose, for example, is one fructose and one glucose, like joined together by a bond. So this might be all complicated for you, might be too much science, but it's like it matters, so you need to like just listen. Then there's complex carbohydrates, which are three or more monosaccharides with three or more like little molecules strung together. So 3 to 10 little monosaccharides linked together is called an oligosaccharide, and 10 or more linked together is a polysaccharide. So basically, when you eat complex carbs, it breaks down into simple ones. So any type of carbohydrate that you eat, it all eventually breaks down, like some like enzymes like in the liver or whatever, all break it down into just like there's a big clump, right? And it just breaks it all down into a bunch of little monosaccharides, so it eventually all turns into glucose anyway. But it um the the more the saccharides, the more the more the the more the monosaccharides that are linked together, the better, because then the longer it takes to go down to break down into glucose. Um, so, but there's actually it gets more complicated than just like the amount of molecules in like the chain. But basically, um, simple. So it always breaks down into glucose, which gives you energy. So then your blood sugar goes up. So the amount of sugar in your blood, basically, the amount of glucose in your blood goes up. But your digestive tract doesn't react the same to all carbs. So all carbs are actually different. Some people don't say that, but all carbs are different. There are good carbs and bad carbs. Um, but monosaccharides you want to have the least of, because that immediately makes your blood sugar go up a lot. But disaccharides aren't too good either, but like lactose is in like milk, so I mean that's not like bad for you. So lactose, I mean disaccharides, I don't know a bunch of all the sciencey stuff. I just am telling you like the basic stuff that you need to know for like diet. So, two examples of carbohydrates are starch and fiber, which are both polysaccharides and both derived from nature. Um, but they're like they're different because they're joined together different. They're 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 joined together for like different types of like links. So starch uses like alpha links to link the little molecules together, and the digestive tract can like break that down easily, so it easily like fastly goes into the monosaccharides. And then fiber has beta links, which basically the digestive tract can't break down, like it's very slow to break down, so it takes a while for it to break down into monosaccharides and um change your blood glucose levels. So foods high in starch are digested easily. Lots of glucose quickly enters the bloodstream, and it has a same to like it has like a similar effect to sugar. Actually, it's very similar to sugar. It's better than sugar, obviously, because sugar is already a mono, so it's instant. But it's very fast. Like starch is very fast to break down, so it's pretty fast. So it's not good. And it has something called there's something called the glycemic index. So something with a high glycemic index, or things like starch, that's something that breaks down fast. So the higher the glycemic index, the faster it enters your bloodstream, like the energy. The foods high in fiber, on the other hand, there's a slow release of glucose into your blood, and it's much less easily digested. And it has a medium glycemic index. It's very slow, so your blood sugar doesn't go up very much. Like, it goes up a medium amount. Like, medium, basically the glycemic index is how far your blood sugar goes up and like how fast. So, when you have a medium glycemic index food, it goes up like a medium amount, and then it goes down. Low glycemic index foods are the best. They are things that are usually high in protein, like meats and like eggs and things like that. When blood sugar rises, there's this thing called insulin, which is like a hormone that is released, and it lets glucose into fat and muscle cells, and it gives you energy. So its main focus is to give energy, and then its second focus is to release to like for like fat, right? Fat storage. Now, the lower the insulin, this is where it's like I barely even understand this. It's just enough to like understand diet. The lower the insulin makes blood sugar, that means like insulin sensitivity. So it's so complicated. Insulin, even for me, bro. Insulin basically is like the lower the insulin makes the blood sugar rise. The so the least amount, like the less the glycemic index, the less the blood sugar rises. That's called insulin sensitivity. And then if insulin sensitivity goes down, that's called insulin resistance, which makes it harder for muscle cells to respond. Blood sugar doesn't decrease. So chronic carb consuming, like when you consume carbs like chronically, this leads to resistance, like insulin resistance. Insulin resistance leads to metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is things like obesity, diabetes, and like heart disease, cardiovascular disease. Basically, what you need to get from this is consume medium to low glycemic index foods. And now I'm going to explain like what type of foods are in those categories. So high glycemic index foods are things like white bread, potatoes, donuts, soda, waffles, crackers, things like that. Medium and low are the ones you want to have the most. Medium glycemic index foods are fruits, veggies, and like whole grain. And then low glycemic index foods are things like meat, eggs, cheese, um, things like protein, things with high protein. Those are the two you want to have: medium and low glycemic index food. You don't want to have high glycemic index foods. You don't want to have too many carbs. The right carbs too. Like, you don't want to have. What you want to get from this is you don't want to have lots of carbs, and you don't want to have the bad carbs. You want to have good carbs and not too many. You want to get most of your carbs from fruit and whole grain, a little bit from veggies. There's not a ton of carbs in veggies, it's just like the fiber in it, but there's not a lot of carbs in veggies, so you still get some, but mainly get from fruit, whole grain, and veggies, right? The reason veggies not as much because they just don't have as much. You don't want to consume a lot of veggies. Now, low glycemic index foods are things with high protein. So protein is absolutely essential if you want to build muscle. Let me repeat that again. Protein is absolutely essential if you want to build muscle. It is the most important factor of your diet. Literally, it's the most important factor of like a bulk diet for gaining muscle. So here's some more science here. Protein is basically a chain of things called amino acids. You might have heard this in like science class. When we eat, these proteins get broken down into the individual amino acids. So they're in like a necklace, like a bead chain, right? And they get like enzymes in like the stomach break down the proteins into individual amino acids. So humans only use 20 of these to make like every type of protein. I'm not gonna name this, like a bunch of weird names like so let me think of one. There's like leptin, I think one leptine or something like that. Like no, not leptin. It's like that's like a hormone. I don't know. They all end in like ine. It's one of those things that like all have the same ending. It's a bunch of weird. I'm not gonna name them, but there's basically three. What you have to know is there's three different groups of these like amino acids that humans use. Five of them you can get from food, but you can also get from your body. So these are called non-essential amino acids. Six of them you can get in a healthy and nourished body. So these are called conditionally essential amino acids, and nine of them you can't get from your body. You can only get from food, and these are called essential amino acids. When we consume protein, the enzymes break it up to the individual amino acids, and this supports muscle growth mainly muscle growth. So this is a very important, like protein is very important for muscle growth and like if you want to bulk. Now I'm going to talk about animal-based protein versus plant-based protein. Animal-based protein is things like eggs, meat, cheese, seafood, and in animal-based protein, all nine of the essential amino acids are in there in an adequate amount. But in plant-based proteins like grain, nuts, seeds, legumes, there's high amounts of some of them and low amounts of other proteins, other amino acids. Basically, animal-based is very straightforward. So you just eat like animal-based protein. It's not as like complicated. But plant-based, you have to eat like multiple different ones. You have to eat like combinations of different plant-based protein. It's a little more complicated. Basically, eat both, but eat like more meat because that's like contributes a little bit more to muscle growth. Because for plant-based one, you need to eat more of it to get to the same level as the animal-based protein, the amount of protein. But basically, eat a lot of meat, eat some plant-based proteins, eat more animal-based proteins, but a little bit of plant-based proteins, obviously, like sometimes, not sometimes, but you know what I mean, bro. If you're on a bulk and you desire to eat more and gain muscle, you need to eat lots of protein. There are two like kind of meal plan-ish things that like two amounts of protein individual like setups for like your meals throughout the day. So either you could have 4 meals a day with like 20 grams of protein, 20 grams of protein, 20 grams of protein in the three first meals, and then 40 grams of protein in the last meal. And then you could have like 3 meals a day with 30 grams, 30 grams, 40 grams, which is like both of those are a total of like 100 grams a day, which is like a good amount to build muscle. The reason you have more protein in the last meal is that period of nighttime where there's this thing called protein synthesis where the protein synthesis level goes up, goes up, goes up every meal. But then there's a period at nighttime when you're sleeping and you don't eat anything, and the protein synthesis just goes flat. So the reason you have more at night is so it lasts longer and lasts throughout the night, and so you can read, the protein synthesis lasts all night. So that's the reason you want to have like a bigger meal. You need to have more protein in your last meal, right before you go to bed. You can't really eat too much protein because your body can process it, but protein amounts like vary depending on factors. In general, what I said is good for me, like that's what I do. So yeah, basically if you want to do what I do, just do I do the 4 meals a day with 20 20 20 40. But yeah. Uh just don't I don't like consume a ton, like, but have a lot of protein. Can't really have too much, but you don't want to eat like a messed like a lot of, you know, you don't want to eat too much protein, which is you can, but you don't want to, like, generally. Just eat a lot of protein. I eat lots of meat and adequate plant-based and cheese and eggs, but I mainly use like meat for my protein sources. Whew. Now I want to talk about vegetables. Vegetables are the second most plentiful thing in a good diet. So the first most plentiful is protein, and vegetables are like the second most, like the second biggest thing you want in a good diet. That's the second most amount you want to have in a good diet. Basically, eats lots. There's not much I can really say for vegetables, but basically, just eat a lot of vegetables. But like, I'm just gonna be talking about like health benefits of certain vegetables, and like which are best you want to eat like the most. All of them are good, you know. The health benefits of vegetables is it's high in vitamins and minerals, reduced risk. Literally, there's a reduced if you eat lots of vegetables, there's literally a reduced risk of stroke and heart disease and heart attack. Sorry. They are low calories, which we're not really worried about, but they're healthy anyway. They have like a lot of phytochemicals, which is like just basically just like stuff good for you, like chemicals good for your like immune system, and just like improved health in general, like improved mood and stuff. The best veggies that you want to be consuming the most are cruciferous veggies, which are things like cabbage, kale, broccoli, things like that. Carrots, garlic, spinach, like peppers, and other like greens. So they're those are like the best ones. Obviously, all of them are good, but um, I'd say cruciferous veggies and carrots are the ones I eat the most. Sometimes spinach, but those are and garlic. So that's what I eat the most. Those are really good for you. But really, all of them are good. The ones I just named are just the highest in like vitamin count and like other nutritional stuff. Advice: basically, eat lots of veggies in your diet. Just eat lots of veggies. It's not super complicated with the veggie thing. And there's just like a quick summary of all the topics we talked about. So we talked about sweeteners. Basically, avoid like all sweeteners. If at all, like sometimes use monk fruit, like the extract. Use the extract because the sugar form of like the sugar substitute, monk fruit sugar substitute that's mixed with like erythritol, which is sugar alcohol, which we talked about you don't want to consume. Um, so get the extract if you're gonna get it at all, which I don't know, you don't need to. Carbs, you don't want to eat too much. Get mainly from fruit, whole grain, and veggies. Protein, eat lots of protein, mostly meat, some plant-based, some dairy, but just eat a lot of protein. Just go over the meal plans or whatever. 4 meals a day, 20, 20, 20, 40 grams. 3 meals a day, 30 grams, 30 grams, 40 grams. You know, you can just kind of play around with the experiment, but don't go too overboard and stuff. And veggies, just eat a lot of veggies, nutritious ones, you know. Now, that was that whole 33 minutes that I just talked about, like, nutritional, like, content in certain, like, categories of food. Now I'm gonna actually talk about, like, my diet and what I eat. So, you can just use that quick, like, that explanation I just gave, for your diet. Just, like, you can use that, honestly. But if you want to hear my diet, just go ahead and listen. Basically, it's generally the same every day. Um, I have 4 meals. So I do the 20-20-20-40 thing. Hold on, I just need some water. Thirsty. My throat's getting dry from talking so much. So my first meal, I have a little bit of a breakfast. I don't have like a huge thing. So I have a bowl of grape nut cereal, which is like a protein, like fiber cereal, and I have it with like any type of milk. Usually, I want to use I usually try to use like oat milk, but then that's like 20 grams of protein actually. Like it seems like a lot, but it's like with including the milk and the grape nuts, the cereal, it adds up. Basically, what's in grape nuts, just if you want to know, is like whole grain flour, malted barley flour, salt, and like dried yeast, which is all like healthy stuff. And just like it's like oat milk or like any type of milk, honestly. It has like protein. Any type of really milk has protein. Just don't like don't soy milk. You don't want to use like right because soy milk is not good for you. Then my second meal is like a pre-workout meal, so I have it like an hour before my workout. So I literally make I make like my own like custom like protein shake, which has like 28 to 30 grams of protein. So it has a lot of like protein in it. It has like around that. So I usually use strawberries, banana, for like carbs, right? Milk, I use a little bit of Greek yogurt, which has a lot of protein in it. Peanuts, which is like a plant-based protein. Cocoa powder, just for like unsweetened, right? Unsweetened. Don't get the sweetened cocoa powder. Get like the unsweetened cocoa powder. I use that just like kind of like a flavoring. Plus, it's good for you, like the unsweetened kind. And then just like the one from the bean, like the cocoa bean thing. And then whole grain rolled oats, which has protein and carbs in it. So it's pretty healthy, like pre-workout smoothie. Plus, it tastes delicious. So yeah, I love that. Right. And post-workout, I like right after my workout, usually as fast as possible. I have some type of meat, so usually chicken, cheeseburger, or pork, which all have around 20 grams of protein. Some have less, some have more. Like chicken and pork, I think have like around 25, and then cheeseburger has like 20, or like more like 20. Yeah, it's okay. So all of those have like around 20 to 25. I usually have broccoli. I usually have broccoli. Sometimes I have carrots for my veggies, like a lot of that. And then I have rice or like fruit for my carbs, which that's around 25 to 30 grams of protein. It all adds up eventually. And then for dinner, which is my last meal of the day, I have Greek yogurt with strawberries. So I have like over a cup of Greek yogurt with strawberries, which is protein, a lot of protein and good amount of like carbs from the strawberries. Um, that's like that's like 15 grams of protein, and then or no, that's like 20 grams of protein, like over a little over a cup of Greek yogurt. It's like 20 grams of protein. And then I have a peanut butter and jelly. So the peanuts, like contribute to the other 20 grams. So it's 20 plus 20. It's around 40 grams of protein. And then the jelly is, the carbs, right? It has the fruit in it. That's my diet. That's mainly what I eat through the day. Like I eat that like almost every day. It's good. Like I like to eat it. It's tasty. It's healthy, nutritious. You don't have to copy like me exactly. Again, like I said, you can use like the explanations I was using before just for your diet. Like you don't have to like use my diet exactly. But I was just trying to give you like an example of like what I use, just so you could get an idea of like um just you can use the advice throughout my explanations, but yeah, mainly just eat lower glycemic index foods, eat the right foods, and you'll be good off. So finally, to before we like end off the video, since this video is kind of about like bulking, like a bulk diet, I kind of wanted to for like gaining muscle. I kind of wanted to talk about like working out, just like as an end off, like just like so right? Once we actually have the diet down, which is the important part, then you just want to like work out. So there's like a relation I use between food and working out. It's not about it's not like work out and then eat more along with that. I use like this like thing. It's like you to gain muscle, you basically eat more and then you just like work out for an hour a day, like a week, like an hour a day. Just like it's you eat more and then you just work out an hour a day. Right? It's more about the eating. So working out is kind of like the minor part, and then eating more is about like the major part. But you still need to work out to gain muscle. Like if you are on a calorie surplus, which you eat more calories than you already do, each day, then you're just gonna, if you do that without working out, you're just gonna gain fat. Like, you're not gonna gain muscle. But then once you work out, it's kind of like you do the calorie surplus, and then you just work out just so you don't gain fat. You gain more muscle instead of fat, right? It's very important working out, obviously. I just wanted to put this in here real quick so you actually know, like, it's important. You need to do it, obviously. Like, it's really important. My throat's getting really dry. Oh, man, I need to end this video soon. If you don't already work out, even if you don't really want to, you should. Like, come on, man. It's actually fun. Like, oh man, it's actually fun to work out. A lot of people don't think it's fun to work out. This is kind of side tangent, but it's actually pretty fun to work out. Like, if you haven't before, you should go. Like, it's really good. Um, yeah, don't come up with like lots of excuses, right? I told you to go work out today. Don't, like, you probably thought of like 3 random excuses in your head, like, no, it'll be too hard. If we were like sat here down, like, on some chairs together, if we were sat here and actually like talking to each other in person, we would be talking about, like, we would break them down, and eventually we would just find they're just bullshit anyway. So just eat clean, healthy, work out, eat more, and you'll be chilling. I hope you enjoyed this video. If I can do it, so can you. Peace out, bro, and see you in the next video. Hey!